Okay, another Tuesday night. Here we go. So tonight's talk has a name. The name is, you find it, what are the hang-ups of a sale? What are the hang-ups of a sale?
Hang-ups of a sale.
I should probably bookmark this before I come up here, huh? I did this last week. I watched the video and I'm like, I'm just standing there flipping through a book. I'm not doing anything.
Add to your checklist.
Yeah, right? So, it's common knowledge that salesmen are born, right?
They're born?
They're born. That's what most people think is, well, he's a salesman. He's a natural salesman. Right? This is really order. I can find this.
When we find it, where is it?
No. So why don't we go over, do you remember the 5 steps of the sale?
Yep.
Tell me what they are.
Number 1, prospecting.
Yeah,
Number 2, opening.
yeah,
Number 3 is qualifying.
nice.
Number 4 is, wait, it'll come. Presentation.
Good.
And number 5 finalizes and finishes up at the close, or call to action.
Good. And so can you tell me a little bit about what the opening is, or the prospecting is?
Prospecting is you're going to mix in with folks with like-minded people. And like-minded being people that have something in common that your product or service would solve. Or a problem that they would solve. A problem that they have in common that your product or service would solve.
Good. And then the next one?
Is another one?
No, that's number 1. Number 2 is what? Opening.
Oh, for that side, okay. Opening is just getting a conversation going.
Good.
What brings them here, who are they, what they what they do, that kind of stuff.
Good.
Number 3, and the qualifying is you're actually starting to ask a few questions and stuff like that as it goes towards what bothers them, I guess, really, and see how that matches up with what you're offering, without coming through the front of that.
Good.
And then presentation, you actually describe to them about what your product or service has to offer, but only not as a sell, but more of a information. And finally, the close is just a call to action to check something out, try out something that you're offering, or what would you call it? Like a free sample kind of thing. And then you go on from that point.
So the presentation is actually the alignment between your product and their problem.
Yes.
The product being the solution or service. Right?
What you're doing, you're not in a way to push them on it, but just to provide
You're
information
enlightening
based in
them.
clear terms.
You're enlightening them. Remember what enlightening means?
Yes, just getting them information to understand.
Raise their awareness,
Right.
right, on whatever it is that they need. Like you might want to raise their awareness on the problem. You might want to raise their awareness on the solution, or both.
So it seems like they come up with the idea of the solution.
Fine. Some of the best closes I did were when they asked, well, what is it? How do I get it? Right? We talked about having a presentation with your objection, stalls, and resistance in it. So if you have enough objection, stalls, and resistance from other clients, then you'll know what they are.
Yeah, you have a good
So you put them in your presentation, handle them before you get to the close.
So you address them even before. Yeah.
So handling, and I'm still in this book. I think this will be the last week I'm doing this, but we'll see. How to Sell, Simple and Easy, by Harry Frisch. On page 171. Unhandled objections are the common denominator of nearly all hang-ups in sales. So what's a hang-up in a sale?
Not interested in it. Don't have the money. Doesn't sell what I need.
He's not convinced that he should do it. Or she. In other words, there's a loss of interest. Okay? So,
The definition you gave for what are the hangups, what was that again?
unhandled objections are the common denominator of nearly all hang-ups in a sale. Okay? Just dawned on me that I could maybe look in this book and give you another piece of information. Maybe find it first.
This is where you put the music on hold.
Yeah. That's kind of fun. I have a lot of people there, so I'm just kind
Get the Jeopardy music.
Yeah. of, there you go.
When I drive back and forth to work, I started to practice.
Say it again.
When I drive back and forth to work, I started practicing that.
Good.
The steps they say.
Good. Well, you obviously got it. You're prepared for this a little bit better. Okay. I'll have to cover it another time. Problem is there's not an index in the back of the book. So I end up flipping through the book, trying to find what I'm looking for. Because I've read the book several times, so I know it's in there. Okay. So if the sale bogs down, get the objection and handle it. So you want to welcome the statement of the objection as a valuable gift. Why would that be?
To show that their comment has value. Get them to be part of the process.
Good. Well, the sale is bogged.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? It's stalled.
Stall. Yeah.
So the salesman's not doing anything except cranking up the sale, the prospect, because he just keeps pushing. This is the exact reason why salespeople have a bad reputation. is because the sales gets bogged. So if you have a force, if you have this guy here, right? You got this guy here. And this guy has this force going this way, an intention. And this guy has this intention going this way, and they meet in the middle, what happens?
Stop.
So now it's like a tug of war.
Yeah.
Right? That's not getting you anywhere. Because now the prospect and the salesperson are in a competition. And who wants to be right? Who's insistent on being right in that scenario?
Both.
Exactly. So you can't have both of them be right. Right?
Yep.
So you want to welcome the objection because that'll get rid of this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Here.
So what he's saying is you want to welcome the statement of an objection as a valuable gift. Because once you get rid of that, now you're getting rid of the gains condition, right? Of who's going to win and who's not going to win.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get out of the sale. Okay? So you need to handle the objections with care, understanding, and skill. So he has a 4-step program in here to get rid of objections. I use it, but I have a much more detailed one. Mostly it's what I told you in the past, is that you make sure that you have persuasive answers when you hear the objections. If you list out, every industry has 12 to 18 objections. Every product, no matter what you're selling, has 12 to 18. If you have persuasive answers, meaning, you know, like for example, I need to talk to my wife. Okay, and say, okay, Tom, you need to talk to your wife about the money. You need to talk to her about the color. You need to talk to her about when do you want to get the delivery. Which part of that do you need to talk to her about to make the decision? That's a persuasive answer, only because it elicits more information. To get further down into the problem and solve the problem. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So here is the 4 steps are, you get it clarified. Then you need to acknowledge it. And he says the objection has agreeability. The acknowledgement has the objection of being agreeable and supportive. You don't want to make the guy wrong, in other words. All right? So you want to remain agreeable, but you don't want to go into agreement with the objection. So I might say to you, Tom, I understand that you would need to talk to your wife. I wouldn't want to make that decision like that without talking to my wife too. So can we get her on the phone? Right?
And he says no.
Pardon?
And he says no.
Yeah. Well, what you're doing is you're testing his intention.
Okay. And that kind of falls back to the prospect, or not prospect, the call back.
Oh, yeah. So sometimes an excellent acknowledgement could just blow the whole thing away. Oh, you got a wife too? Yeah. I've been through this before, I totally get it. You know what I did? What I did is I did blah. Oh, yeah, I didn't think of that. I could do that.
You give the example as opposed to trying to convince him otherwise.
So So let's just do it. So give me an objection.
I talked to the wife.
Okay. So which part of the decision do you need your wife's help with? Is it the money? Is it the delivery of it? Or is it the color?
The color.
The color. Okay. So you just don't know what color she would want?
Very particular about colors, absolutely.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this question. Did you talk to her before you come down here to let her know that you were going to be doing this?
No.
Okay. So you're just kind of like surprising on her?
Yeah.
Had you talked about it ever?
Yeah, we touched on it for a little while.
Okay. How long ago was that?
3 months ago.
Okay. So it was recent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What was her feedback then?
Yeah, feedback was, I'm not sure about the color, because you're not describing the color very well.
Okay. So she wants to see it?
Yeah, because it matches up with the other stuff that she has.
I see. So I got an idea. Why don't we let you take it overnight and let her match the color with her living room?
How can I say no then, right? Yeah, it was much easier.
Right. But see what I did when I did it, as I kept stripping off, was it really an objection? Was it really truly an objection? Or was it a misdirector? Were you just trying to get me off your ass?
Got it.
So if it was truly an objection, then it'll resolve with good communication.
I see. Otherwise, he starts to keep making things up, and then you'll pick up on that.
No.
And test them differently.
I'm gonna trap them, and I'm gonna make these. The more of those you have in a sales cycle, the harder it is to close. There's actually a sales technique. It's in Les Dane's book. Les Dane had a book he wrote in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about the prospect putting on a brick overcoat. And you have to remove the bricks one at a time. Okay? Then sometimes what happens is you remove the brick overcoat, and the guy has no place to go, he just wants to be right, so you have to give him what they call a face saver. So the face saver makes him right for making the decision.
Which is a different path.
Yeah, that's a different story, but it's just a valid point because you need to give him a face saver.
I got it.
You know? Which should be something like, well, I'll tell you what. I know that you aren't ready to buy it today, but let's do this. Let's do the paperwork today, and I'll date it for 2 days from now. So this way here, your wife will think that you talked to her, or your wife or whatever. Not that you think that you talked to her. This will give you a chance to talk to your wife, and if anything goes wrong, then we'll handle it. Otherwise, we'll get the order processed, and I'll take the paperwork for 2 days from now. That's a face saver. Makes him right for signing the paperwork now.
Because that was canceled. He wanted to.
Okay. So you always dissolve the objection with communication alone. Help him to see himself as a winner by proceeding with the sale, which is what I was just telling you. So you always got to bring it back to how it helps him. Right? So that's what we're here in the sale for, is to enlighten him and to help him. Right?
Yes.
Now here's another thing that we talked about a couple weeks ago, right? This is a beautiful way to absolve objections. And that's to use a second opinion tag. A second opinion tag is someone that has probably already used your product or service, or has experience with you, and they can call them and talk to them on their own time. So they're going to fortify the viewpoint, or they're going to fortify the fact that the product does what it says it's going to do. And then it's a correct buying decision. So this is the point where you would want to use what you learned earlier about the needs and wants. You want to align it to, well, and my famous way of doing that is as well, for example, I give somebody three proposals to buy their house. And they're kind of squirmish. One of the questions I would ask them is, well, let me ask you, Mrs. Jones, if you don't sell me the house today, what are you going to do next? Make them think about that. Or if you don't buy this tonight, how are you and your wife gonna handle that next? What are you gonna do next? You'll find out if it's a misdirect or if it's a real objection.
And that's the key thing that, I think I caught up on was that you're actually testing as you're moving forward.
Always.
Is it real or is it not? Is it
I do it with questions.
For every question, you kind of come to that fork in the road, which way you're gonna go.
If it's an objection, you take it up and you handle it. You want to hear a statistic? This statistic is written by oh my God, I just went blank. Al, who's the sales guy that wrote 10X Rule? Grant. What's his first name? Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone says, thank you. Grant Cardone says that 82% of your objections are complaints.
That much?
82% of your objections are complaints. So when the guy says, I don't have any money, it could be true, but 82% of the time, it's a complaint.
So we'd like to, but he doesn't have it.
It's just a complaint.
And it's just a matter of figuring it out.
Because money is never the problem. Somebody wants it, but they're dropping it. So what I did when I was testing, remember I told you I was testing with all my clients, was I do a presentation, I wouldn't ask for the close. At the same time, what I was testing was, if somebody had an objection, stall, or resistance, they'd have to tell it to me a couple of times before I would take it up. So they'd say, I don't have any money, I just give them a good acknowledgement. Okay, I get that. And then just keep going. And if it comes up again, okay, yeah, I totally get that. We're just talking hypothetical here.
Just not sure.
You gotta keep enlightening, because no money means he's not enlightened enough. He hasn't twigged on the fact that this is gonna help his problem. Or you don't have the right problem.
Right, there's that part of it. So if you know up front, you had a conversation up front in the opening, or in the qualifying part, that your product can solve it or may not solve it, you can decide whether or not to push forward in the presentation.
Right.
And if you fall back to qualifying, that's testing kind of going back and
We're just going back and forth. Now, I know this, if you have objection, stalls, and resistance written out, and your normal persuasive answer is this, and it works on 8 out of 10 clients, and it doesn't work on this client, then you might have to back up in the sales process, because you don't have it.
all the way back to the point of meeting the right person, with the right group, with the right person.
And the most valuable thing you could do is find out what he has attention on. That's the thing that's ruining him. That's the thing that's stopping him, is what he has the most attention on.
In terms of,
Whatever subject you're talking about. So if it's plumbing, he's got his attention on the pipes are going to leak. The pipes did leak. I got 3 inches of water in my basement, whatever he's got his attention on. If he's buying a car, why is he buying the car? What's he going to do with it? Or more importantly, what fear is in his mind? Because his other car keeps breaking, he's spending too much money on it. That's what he's got his attention on. That's his ruin on the car. He keeps spending money on this car. He's spending money on this car. We'll hear it. He keeps spending money on this car. Now what you do is you lay down a mathematical procedure in front of him on how much money he's spending and how much money he's going to not spend with the new car.
they would look at repair bills versus payments per car, totally different.
Right. Some of my best sales cycles were done logically with math. It was idiotic not to do it because it was just a mathematical. Like, for example, I have a client, an SEO client, was kind of bitching at me because she was paying me $1,250 a month to do SEO for her. And every month I had a problem. Every time she'd pay for 5 days, 5 days, either her office manager or her would be on there complaining and tearing my head off. I hated it. But they'd get the email that they just paid for it, and then they feel like they had to get their value for it. Finally, one day I sent an email to her and I said to her, listen, here's the deal. Now, the way they're acquiring clients right now is door-to-door sales in Phoenix, Arizona. Okay? And finally, what I had to do is tell her, listen, you're getting 15 phone calls a week, minimum, off of my system. If it was 10 phone calls a week, if you got 50 phone calls a month, just 50 phone calls a month, you'd be paying $24 a lead. That's 1/3 of what they're paying now, if not more, if not less than that. So it's $24 a lead. Right? I haven't had a problem with it for 3 months. But it's the mathematical evidence that she needed. And sometimes you need to do that in a sales cycle. It's mathematically work it out.
Right, sometimes you don't see that.
And she was just looking at the $1,250 and she's like throwing it out the window. But I record on my websites, I put tracking phone numbers, I record every phone call, I have all the evidence. She's getting between 12 and 15 phone calls a week, so she's getting 60 or plus calls a month.
Mm-hmm.
So she's actually paying less than $24. It's her cheapest lead acquisition right now. And I know that because I think they're paying $125 a week the other way.
Qualified or just a lead?
No, qualified.
Oh, so it is.
But it had to be done mathematically. Right? So what I'm telling you is where communication can't handle the objection, sometimes you need real world solutions. Right? Just like just like the example I just gave you, it's a real world solution. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's an exact example of how the product is going to work. Which, by the way, this is very apropos to what you're doing at your job because you're a junior and you have seniors that you need to sell stuff to. So this is very, very important.
This and some of the other stuff that I've been trying to start as well. Yeah.
But you're going to be pitching them your ideas, right? I don't mean pitching bad way, but you're going to be showing them your ideas, and they're going to like it or not like it. So you need to figure out what do they have their attention on, what's their ruin on it, and then how you can bring your idea as a solution and why it would work. And then you write down into where communication doesn't work, you have to give them evidence. Right? Real live, real world solutions.
It's my tagline I played with in one of my presentations for the business stuff I have.
Good. And then once you give them real live solutions, you move forward on the sales process.
That's how you move forward without the frustration.
Well, you want to remove this. This is the name of the game right here. You always want to remove this ridge, if you will.
Right, because it's going to test. It's testing the objection, going back and forth on that, handling the objection, or move to the test, and then now go back and forth so you get to another objection that you can overcome and handle. And to keep moving down the road to make it a true qualification. It's much easier than just get.
Well, just think of it this way. This guy has this idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this guy has this idea. And those are moving this way. Ideas are energy.
Okay.
So that's energy moving along. You ever talk to somebody and they're so intense, it's like you feel like you can't move? You feel like they got you locked in?
And you can't get through. Yeah.
It's energy. So the energy has to flow. If it just stays in the middle, this is just built up energy right here. It acts like a mass. It's like there's actually something physical between the two of you. It's energy.
And times you push it back and throws them out to get both sides frustrated and they just say, that's it. Yeah.
That's right. If this person can't get duplicated, in other words, this communication is X, this communication is O, and this guy can't feel like this guy can see his X, and this guy can't feel like this guy can't see his O, it ends up right there and nobody wins.
That picture right there with that description, yeah, it's a great cartoon of that. Animation. Oh, it's clean roll.
So the whole sales process is trial and error, trying not to make that happen. And I can tell you right now, if the salesperson gets disinterested because this guy's being too difficult, that will happen quicker.
Because he's chasing him. Salesperson is chasing prospect for the activity versus the prospect chasing the salesperson.
Okay, so in summary, the punchline for tonight, the power of negotiation, the rule of negotiation is, everybody thinks that negotiation is a big subject. When I give you this law, it'll minimize the subject down to this law. Ready? The power of negotiation is the guy that wants it the least amount. The power of negotiation is the guy that wants it the least amount. So if I want to really want to sell my house and you're a buyer, what am I going to do? Everything possible to sell it to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it an easy sale for you?
Probably not every effort you got to take.
So if I really want to sell my house, am I going to make it really easy for you? Yeah, it's an easy sell for you. So you're going to buy the house. Because I'm going to bend every which way. I'm motivated. If I don't want to sell my house, and you have to work really hard, who's got the power? In other words, in the first scenario, you've got all the power because I'm really motivated, and you could be like, yeah, whatever.
So negotiations are where power is. Okay. Yes.
So if I don't want to sell my house, and you really want to buy it, who's got the power now? So the object of a sales cycle is to get the prospect to want it the most.
So you're trying to find a way to give them the power.
You want to get their awareness up to the point where they really get that this is a shoe-in for their problem. And then they convert. It's the difference between desire and interest. Interest is when the prospect is chasing the salesman. Desire is when the prospect is being chased by the salesman. In other words, the salesman wants it more than the prospect. But the power of negotiation lies in who wants it the least. Make sense?
Does now.
Cool. So that's it for tonight's lecture. It's Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, every Tuesday at 30 Hazel Terrace in Woodbridge. 06525 is the zip code. And I am going to put that information in the bottom of this video. So if you're watching it afterwards, the recording, then you can find us right in the comment section of the YouTube video. Okay, thanks for being here.